So this lecture is on the electoral process, and today in class on Thursday, we talked about the Electoral College and how our founding fathers had framed this structure in order to create somewhat of a system that would filter out um, mob rule in the United States in a time period where many of the elites did not trust the average American of making an informed, educated choice for elections in the United States. So let me begin by going into how the election process, and this is going to be primarily for the national level, specifically for the presidency, and the steps in which this occurs. So we have a two-step process in which a candidate who is interested in running for president, in which he must pursue. The first is called a primary step, where he runs alongside many other candidates from the same political party. So in the 2020 election, we have the incumbent Donald Trump, who is running as the forerunner for the Republican Party. But since the Democrats are running against an incumbent, they have a pool of other Democrats who are vying for the top position to run against Donald Trump. Well, this first step is done through a primary process. And the person who is the winner from the primary process then goes on to become the Democratic candidate who will run against Donald Trump for the 2020 election. In this case, we know that was Joe Biden. Well, let's go ahead and just kind of take a look at how that happened. State elections also run in the same format. There is a primary step in which a pool of candidates for a particular party that is running against an incumbent vies to be the top candidate to run against the opposing party. So the state elections happen in the same way as the national election. So in this case, if we have to compare the gubernatorial race, which is the race for the governorship, it would take the same place. Now, in state elections, it's a little bit different because each state has their own way and method of determining who and how the primaries work. In the state of California, we do use a primary election in which the two top runners basically move up into the state race. So, if for the 2020 elections, there are many candidates who are vying to run against Donald Trump from the Democratic Party. And as you can see here, there are many faces, including Kamala Harris, who ran for that top seat to run against Donald Trump in the general election. But you can see here many people who are running in the primaries. In the Republican Party, Donald Trump basically was the front runner because he's already president and he is the incumbent. But there are other people who did try to make themselves known in the Republican Party, but of course we know that it was Donald Trump. Different steps towards national nomination. So as I mentioned, there's a two-step process. Now, each of the states determine whether that first step will be either a primary election, or some states do something called a caucus method. And the caucus is generally towards a state with less population, like in comparison to California. California, we use a primary method, but there are some other states that use a caucus. Now, caucus literally means a meeting, and it does look very different than a primary, and we'll take a look at that. States with primaries is Nevada, Wyoming, North Dakota, and Iowa. And we're going to focus on the way Iowa holds their caucuses because they are the first. So if you look at the dates here, this is February 3rd, March 10, April 4th, February 22nd. So Iowa is the first state of the caucuses that actually hold their caucus meeting. And so generally, they get a lot of media attention because they're kind of the first state to determine who's going to be the forerunner, who they choose as the forerunner as in their for the Democratic Party. So caucus, generally Iowa and Nevada, because they're kind of like the beginning, one of the earliest. Now, what does a caucus look like? So in Iowa, in the case of Iowa, they're local town meetings, and the state Democratic Party in Iowa, the Republican Party in Iowa, they hold their caucuses very differently. They have their own rules and ways of organizing their caucus, but we're going to focus here on the Democrats because that's what we saw in the 2020 election. So here you see Elizabeth Warren here at the Iowa caucus. So it looks very much it looks literally like a town meeting, and you have people from all over the town who come to a large area, or like this is like a school gym where they come and they discuss the different runners, the candidates who are running in for the Democratic Party, and they literally vote based on who they feel is the best candidate. And the organization, the way it's done, differs between the Democrats and Republicans. But again, in the Iowa caucus, a lot of media attention there because it's from Iowa. You see, Iowa, from the Iowa caucus, they decided to vote for Pete Buttigieg, or they'll vote for if it was Bernie Sanders. They'll take a look and see, okay, so this candidate happens to be the front runner. And in this case, in 2020, it happened to be Pete Buttigieg. If you look here, he got 14 delegate counts compared to Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Amy Klobuchar. So even though we know that Joe Biden ultimately won the general election against Donald Trump, in this very beginning phase of the Iowa caucus, Pete Buttigieg was at the forefront from the Democratic Party. Now, the outcome of Iowa caucus sometimes is important, sometimes it's not. If you look here, George H.W. Bush in 1980 was the winner of the Iowa caucus, but he didn't win the nomination for the Republican Party. You can look down here. Let's go to 2012. Rick Santorum from the Republican Party won the Iowa caucus, but Mitt Romney won the nomination for the general election. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee that the Iowa caucuses, the winner of the Iowa caucus will be the nominee for the general election, but there is a good chance. So that's why it gets a lot of media attention. Now, primaries are different than a caucus. If going back to this map, we see that most states abide by a primary election. And basically, this is like an election. You go to the poll and you vote. And the Republicans and the Democrats have their own rules depending on the state that you live in. So if we focus on California, which holds a primary, there are two types of primaries that we see in the states. There's a closed primary where only people who are registered for that particular political party can vote. So meaning you had to have registered to become a Republican, to be part of the Republican Party, to vote for the Republican primary, and vice versa. Open primaries, you don't have to register and declare yourself to be in any of the party affiliation, and you can just kind of vote in those primaries. So those are open. Now, what does California have? We have something called a modified closed primary. So, for example, one party allows only party members to vote, and the other party allows non-party members to vote. So, for example, in California, if you want to vote in the Republican primary, you have to declare and register as a Republican. However, if for the Democrats, you don't necessarily have to declare yourself and register as a Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary. So what's interesting is that if you're an independent, let's say you do not declare yourself both Republican or a Democrat, you cannot vote in the Republican Party. However, you can vote in the Democratic primary, but you have to ask for a ballot. And so that's kind of what we call a modified primary here in California. The elimination process, basically primaries and caucuses kind of eliminate like all those people who are running in a particular party. It kind of filters out who are the few stronger candidates. Now, delegates. Now in a general election, we have something called a national convention, which basically kickstarts the general election between the chosen Democrat and the chosen Republican to run against each other. Now, in order for it to kickstart, what happens is each state sends in delegates to these national conventions. Now, these delegates are chosen based on the primaries. So for California in the 2020 election, California voted for Joe Biden in the California Democratic primaries. So the delegates, a certain number of delegates, were chosen to go to the national convention, and they gave their vote for Joe Biden. So that's what normally happens after the primaries. So this is where we have like the big conventions. This is the Democratic National Convention. It's held like around July, August of the election year, and thousands of delegates from each of the states come to these national conventions, and it's like a large party, and they officially cast their vote to say, okay, Joe Biden, we're going to vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden was the forerunner from the primaries. So effects of the primaries and the caucuses, it does show division in the particular party. So for example, if you are running in the Democratic primaries, all those candidates are arguing against each other. So you kind of get to see how they differentiate in particular issues. So you do see that there are some differing opinions on issues from the candidates. But it does help to narrow in on who you particularly see as a favorite candidate for the Democratic Party, in this case for the 2020 election. Being familiar is crucial. And so normally, like for Donald Trump, since he is an incumbent, he's familiar. Everybody knows. So the primaries for him was a no-brainer. He was going to get the nomination because the Republican Party was going to back him up. Now, what happens is Democrats who are, like, for example, when they are vying to win the primaries or the caucuses in a particular state, and they're arguing against each other to kind of be the forerunner, you see a lot of the differences, and they tend to lean, they want to speak to their base of Democrats and liberals and the progressives, and so they tend to sound very liberal because they're trying to be the forerunner for the Democrats. But what happens after they win the nomination and they go to the general election, they have to appeal the entire nation. So they're running an election in a nationally, they're speaking to their base, but they're also speaking to the independents and moderates who they're also trying to win over in the national presidential election. So they tend to center themselves a little bit during the national election. So they're not as, in this case, like the Democrats, are not going to try to sound as liberal. They're going to try to be a little bit more moderate to win the moderate votes. Now, how do you vote? Like in California, how do you vote? Voting policies are enacted and they're enforced, and they're different by state because this is a reserved power. You must, of course, be U.S. citizen and at least be 18. This is at all states. In California, under the new Motor Voter Act, in order to make registration easy for Californians, once you renew your driver's license, you automatically, your registration is, you automatically register to vote. California does not require a photo ID, but they may on certain instances. Absentee voting is something where you are absent from the voting poll, voting location on the day of the election because you're voting by mail. So that's why we call it absentee voting. Voting by mail is called absentee voting. Now, what happens